What is up, everybody? It is I, your coach, Melanie Black, and today we are going to be talking all about zero cook meal plan options. Because you know what? It's that time of year again. It's the time of year where you did that 1 week of really awesome meal prep because you're gonna get on that new diet for 2021. You're gonna lose that weight, and then you realize that it's a hell of a lot of work and you're too busy. You're too dang busy for all of that. So what do? I am here to help. Eating on plan, eating for fat loss does not need to be nearly as complicated as a lot of people make it out to be. Now, if you're somebody who loves cooking, you enjoy experimenting, you like spending time in the kitchen, then that's awesome. Then there's plenty of different channels with lots of beautiful recipes and different things you can make. But if you're looking for a solution that is very cost effective as well as keeping you on plan and so super convenient, I have got you covered in this video. You are in the right spot. Okay, so we are going to, if you are a member of the Nerd Gym already, I recommend using the If It Fits Your Macros plan for this approach as far as knowing your numbers for your protein, fat, and carbohydrate. If you have no idea what I meant by that just now and you're new to this channel, go ahead and play along at home. I will walk you through the entire process of figuring out what your macros are. Of course, if you join the Nerd Gym, I will have done that work for you already, and it will be more optimized for fat loss, but I'm going to give you the quick and dirty version of how to figure out your macronutrients for fat loss tonight, as well as what you can eat that requires no cooking, no skill, no mess, okay? No cooking, no skill, and no mess. Those are the big three that we're really looking for out of this meal plan. All right, so first off, let me just introduce you to what we're talking about with the types of foods that require no cooking. Now, carbohydrates, they're pretty easy to find, right? Pretzels, bread, crackers, popcorn, the carbohydrates are everywhere. What you want for a meal plan where you are calculating your grams of protein, fat, and carbohydrate are either you want stuff that has a label on it that tells you exactly what's in there, which most prepackaged foods do, so pretty simple, but it's going to also make it a lot easier if you avoid combination foods, foods that are already a combination of protein, fat, carbohydrate. It gets really difficult to stay on plan, to stay on track when you're doing something that has a mix of protein, fat, and carbohydrate in it. So in general, what you want to be on the lookout for this meal plan to make it simple on yourself and to actually make progress towards your weight loss goals is going to be stuff that is sort of single macronutrient, either like almost all protein, almost all carbohydrate, or almost all fat, to make this super easy on yourself. So do some brainstorming and think about what you like that is a low fat carbohydrate. What kind of cookies, crackers? Do you like beans? Do you like, there's even, you can get prepackaged, already cooked rice and oatmeal these days too, like in pouches. But for the sake of things that are less expensive, usually breads, for snacks, pretzels, popcorn, canned beans are great for carbohydrates because they also have, here's the big awesome thing about if you're doing canned beans is you're getting a lot of fiber. So when we're talking about convenience food, a lot of times the thing that is missing is the fiber, and the reason why so many good meal plans have a ton of vegetables in them and why that works so well is for the fiber content, right? You need your macronutrients, your protein, fat, and carbohydrate, but you also need fiber, about 20 to 25 grams per day for a healthy gut bacteria, which will in turn help your fat loss. Now, so the carbohydrates are the easy one. We want to get some fiber in there, so if you can get some of that in with your carbohydrates, fabulous. Otherwise, we're using vegetables to make up the difference, fruits and vegetables to make up the difference. Fruits are really high in carbohydrates too, by the way, so keep that in mind if you're like, oh, well, I'll just have lots of fruit. Fruit is a lot of carbohydrates, so make sure that you are tracking that as well. Okay. So we'll come back to that in a bit there. Just giving you some ideas of the type of foods that you're thinking about for this meal plan. So that's going to be that for your protein. This is the tough one for a lot of people. Tofu is really excellent, easy protein. You don't have to cook it. You can eat it raw. Just toss some soy sauce on there. It's great. Boiled eggs, canned meats that are lean like tuna or chicken. Beef jerky is another easy protein, as well as deli meat. Keep in mind, a lot of these proteins, however, are going to have quite a bit of sodium. Now, when it comes to fat loss, sodium does not matter. Now, it will retain some water weight if you're high sodium, and if you have any medical conditions like high blood pressure that require you to be low sodium, this is going to be a little bit more tricky to find the right balance of things. But yeah, so if you're doing like cured meats like deli meats or jerky, that kind of stuff, keep in mind that, yeah, those are going to be super high sodium. They will cause you to retain water weight, but they will not make you more fat. So as long as you don't have some other medical reason like high blood pressure, check with your doctor, all that good stuff before starting a nutrition program. But yeah, you can definitely get away with using deli meats for your proteins. But the tofu is low sodium until we put the soy sauce on it. The tuna, relatively low sodium compared to like the deli meats and stuff like that. So yeah, Eggs are great, hard-boiled eggs. Sometimes that you'll find those sort of pre-made hard-boiled eggs, but the yolks do have quite a bit of fat in them, so be sure to account for that in your macros. Greek yogurt is a fantastic protein, especially the zero-fat Greek yogurt, really great. Also low-fat cottage cheese. So those are all proteins you don't have to cook, you don't have to prep, you can eat them right out of the tin or right out of the container, no problem. And then for your vegetables and fruit, go canned, easy peasy. Now, some of these can be pickled, these can be preserved in a number of ways. And of course, there's levels of easy, right? Like, I'm not going to go into the level of easy that involves, stocking up on frozen vegetables and pre-making a bunch of rice ahead, because those require getting out a pan and cooking something or reheating something in the microwave. Today, I'm just talking about stuff that you literally do not have to heat. Some of it requires a refrigerator for storage, but most of it does not. Like, we're talking super easy here. So these are the foods I want you to keep in mind as you're brainstorming on what you like. Pickled cucumbers, carrots, kimchi, sauerkraut. For vegetables, any kind of pickled or preserved vegetables are great, as long as there's not, added sugars and stuff in there with the sauce. You don't want anything that has a sauce already in it unless you can easily account for that in your macronutrients. And we will get to how to actually calculate your macronutrients. Don't worry, I will be leaving you in this video with a complete actionable meal plan. So yeah, stay tuned, find out. Okay. But yes, so we want to make sure that we're getting all of these things relatively unseasoned to begin with, so that we can have a little bit of flexibility and add sauces and seasonings separately. That will make it easier to account for the amount of protein, fat, and carbohydrate that is in things if we have the salt and seasonings separate. Okay. Now we get to do math. Are you excited? I'm excited. Now, if you are looking at the If It Fits Your Macros meal plan from the Nerd Gym, you can probably skip ahead a little bit and we'll get back to talking about the foods on this plan. But what I'm going to do right now is give you the quick and dirty math for figuring out a good, easy fat loss meal plan for you. Okay? Step number 1, decide what weight your goal weight is. If you're not sure, you can look at the body mass index chart. Just look up BMI chart online and you can kind of look for the healthy normal for your height, although it's not super accurate for people who are working out really hard, but it gives us a starting point, right? So for myself, I'm going to say, okay, I want to be 150 pounds. I've been 150 pounds. I know that that's a weight that I feel good at. If there's a weight that you felt good at in the past that you want to get back to, that's another way to find your starting weight. And then you say, okay, 150 pounds. And I'm going to assume that you're working out at least 3 days per week, because if you're not, you really, really, really should. And if you need help with that, again, www.thenerdgym.com, join, and we have live online classes exclusive for our members on Zoom so that we can give you feedback, and it's easy and it's in your house and all that good stuff. So be sure to do that. But I'm assuming that you're at least a little bit active, like you're working out for an hour, 3 days per week, getting your steps in, average amount of activity. Okay, so you take your ideal weight. In my case, 150 pounds. You're going to multiply this by 11. Multiply it by 11. Okay, so when I multiply my weight, 150 by 11, I get 1,650 calories as my caloric intake for weight loss to get down to 150. Now, once I'm down at that ideal body weight, we then are going to bump up the calories again gradually so that we can plateau. But to get down to that 150, we want to drop it. So we want to drop it. Usually it takes about a 300 to 500 calorie deficit to do that. If you do this math, I guarantee you, you're going to be in the right zone. Trust the math, it works. Okay, so you do your ideal body weight times 11. That's the first step to get your calories. But calories aren't the whole story. Will you lose weight just being within your calories? Yeah, you will, but here's the problem. If you're not getting enough protein, especially, but fat, carbohydrates have their role too. But let's talk about protein first. If you're not getting enough protein, what you're going to end up with is not getting enough resources, not only for your muscle tissue, because we all know that muscle builds protein builds muscle, yada yada, fine. Let's say you don't care about muscle, you only want to lose weight. What about your bone density? Do you care about your bone density or your connective tissue density or your injuries? Do you not want to get injured? How about this? How about, do you care about your metabolic hormones? If you're trying to lose weight, you definitely should. You should worry about having your metabolic hormones be in good balance. Guess what? All of your metabolic hormones, your insulin, your glucagon, your ghrelin, your leptin, all of these hormones that dictate hunger, that dictate satiety, that dictate how your food is distributed in the body. All of these hormones are peptide hormones, which means they're made out of, you guessed it, protein. Okay, so if you're not getting enough protein in your nutrition plan, not only do you risk your injuries, recovery not being so good, you're not going to give your body what it needs to build muscle for a better metabolism, but you're also going to screw up your hormones. So don't do it, okay? Make sure you're getting enough protein. So how much protein is enough protein? Well, let's get back to those calories. So remember, we do our body weight times 11 to get our total calories. Now we're going to divide that by 3. And we're going to have, so in my case, okay, 150 times 11 is 1,650 divided by 3. That's 550. That means I'm going to have 550 of my calories coming in from protein. I'm going to have 550 calories coming in from carbohydrate, and I'm going to have 550 calories coming in from fat. So fat, super crucial to a lot of bodily functions. Carbohydrates can be up for debate. Some people like a low carb diet, I get it, but I'm going to tell you right now, most people are going to do better with the carbohydrates. Your brain only wants to run on carbohydrates when it has the chance. It's going to be better for your energy levels, for your workouts. That's one of the complaints I see from people over and over again who try keto and these super low carb diets is you just don't have the energy for your workouts. So I'm not a fan of low carb. So I would say 30% of your calories should come from protein, 30% from carbohydrates, 30% from fat. Roughly. I do a little bit of finessing for optimization for the if it fits your macros meal plan, if you're a member of the Nerd Gym, so that's why the numbers might come out slightly different, but not that different from the math formula I'm giving you right now. Okay, so 550 calories from protein, from carbohydrate, and from fat each. Now, we need to know how many calories are in a gram. Carbohydrate and protein have 4 calories per gram, and fat has 9 calories per gram. So this means that if I'm going to take 550 calories and divide that by 4 calories, that gives me 137.5. Correct my math if I'm wrong. You can go ahead and correct my math in the comments, okay? 137.5 calories are going to be from, 137.5 grams of protein will give me the right amount of calories. 137.5 grams of carbohydrate. And you don't have to be that perfect, the 0.5 or whatever, but about 137, give or take a gram for protein, 137, give or take a little bit for carbohydrate. And then finally for the fat, we're going to take that 550 calories, divide it by 9, because that's 9 calories per gram, and that gives me 61 point something, 60 calories, or excuse me, 60 grams of fat. Okay, so I have 60 grams of fat, 137 protein, 137 carbohydrates. Yes. Okay, so one more time. You take your ideal body weight times 11, divide that by 3, and then divide whatever calories you got by the number of calories per gram, and that gives you the grams of protein, fat, and carbohydrate. Remember, there's 4 calories per gram for protein and carbohydrate, and 9 calories per gram for fat. Okay? Cool. Now that you have those numbers, the neat thing about doing a no-cook meal plan is you are going to have a lot of foods that are prepackaged that have the information you need, your macronutrients, your protein, fat, carbohydrate, on the back of the label already. Like this can of beans, for example, right? So this can of beans is 3.5 servings, and it's got per serving 2 grams of fat, 20 carbohydrates, 6 protein, okay? And this is why, by the way, when you're thinking about beans, think about it as a carbohydrate, because even these wonderful, delicious chickpeas, which are often cited as a good source of protein by vegetarians, which it is, a good source, but it's not a plentiful source. It is a plentiful source of carbohydrates, okay? So, for me, what that would look like, continuing the example that I just gave you, if I wanted to have a no-cook meal plan, and I wanted to have that with my right macronutrients and the right amount of fiber, these beans have a good amount of fiber too, 4 grams of fiber per serving. For my entire day, what would I need to eat to get down to my ideal body weight? I would need 2 cans of beans. I would need 4 cans of tuna and 4 tablespoons of olive oil. Okay? That's my entire day of food right there. And I could put some seasoning, some salt, some other things on there. And you're going to say, Melanie, where are the vegetables? Aren't you supposed to have vegetables? Well, I've got enough fiber from the beans in this specific case. If I didn't, then yeah, I would want to definitely take a look at what kind of vegetables I could get in there to get those extra fibers, because the fiber, like I said, we want to get about 20 to 25 grams of fiber per day just for a healthy gut microbiome, which will lower stress, which will in turn keep you from feeling crazy, hangry, and hungry, and all that good stuff. Now, the other thing that I recommend, in addition to all of your macronutrients, is, and I recommend this anytime you're starting a new meal plan, is just a cheap multivitamin, okay? So I still have a menstrual cycle, so I get the women's multivitamin. It's got extra iron in it. Because, if I'm eating these beans and canned tuna every day, of course it's good for me. I'm getting all the fiber from the beans. Even if I was eating like a gorgeous whole food meal plan, like with fresh vegetables and all this kind of stuff, people think like, oh, it's fresh vegetables, it's fresh food, it's getting all those vitamins and minerals. And it's like, yeah, you kind of are, but the thing that you're getting out of there, remember, anytime you're going to a more whole food based type meal plan, the thing that you're often removing is fortified foods. There's a lot of fortified like breakfast cereals, Wonder Bread, all these different things that have added vitamins and minerals in them, like vitamin D milk, right? So it can be a real balancing act to try to get those vitamins and minerals. A lot of times people don't realize how much fortified foods have really revolutionized human health in the industrial world. So anytime you're starting a new meal plan, especially if it's got a lot of whole food in it, especially if you're taking out a lot of the processed food, which also happen to be oftentimes the fortified foods, I do recommend adding in a multivitamin. Now, The next thing you're going to say is, wow, beans and tuna and olive oil, huh? That's super, super boring. Now, I didn't promise exciting in this video, but you can make it a little bit more exciting than that. Like I said, you want to brainstorm about what on this no-cook kind of vibe you actually enjoy eating, what you actually like to eat, right? So what carbohydrates that don't have added fat do you like to eat? And then from there, what kind of proteins that do not require cooking, what kind of proteins that do not require cooking do you like to eat? What kind of vegetables that are pickled or preserved or whatever, what do you like to eat out of those things? And of course, what kind of condiments and spices do you like? And like I said, as long as you're staying within those macronutrient ranges, you can really get those macronutrients from anything. So really your imagination is the limit when it comes to all that stuff. There's quite a lot you can do with it. Will it be different than how you're used to eating? Yeah, likely. Likely it's going to be a lot less fat than you're used to, because fat makes everything delicious, so that's why we put fat in everything. You're going to have to replace that with flavor. One of the big things for people who grew up sort of like middle America, like white people like myself, like bland food, that kind of thing, we don't add a lot of spices in the American culture. We tend to spice things with sugar, salt, and fat, right? Those are our big three to make things have flavor. So you might have to step outside of your comfort zone a little bit with spices, and explore the whole breadth and width of the spice cabinet, as it were, or different sauces that you can account for the macros on. Keep in mind, you don't want to drown things in ranch, because that's a bunch of fat too. But look at things that do not have added sugar and fat in them, because those will add more calories and more macros that will bump you outside of the ranges that will ultimately get you to your goal. Now, the other thing that I recommend is doing this even if you enjoy meal prep. Prepare for this even if you enjoy meal prep, because here's the thing. There are going to be days when it happens, right? And if you don't know what your macros are and you're like, oh man, I made myself this beautiful bento box of goodness, and then like I went out for the day and I forgot it, and now I'm starving and I don't know what to do. If that's where you're at, you're going to want to know, what do I need to get? What do I need to do to stay on plan, to keep making progress towards my goals? So you want to have a backup plan. So anytime you maybe don't feel like cooking, that kind of stuff, if you are well stocked in your cupboard with stuff that you know that you can put together to actually create your meal plan and fill out your macronutrients appropriately for your goals, then what you're going to have is you're going to have a backup plan. And good planning is the thing that will get you to your goals. If you're trying to do a nutrition plan, if you're trying to do a diet or a weight loss plan, you just have to plan. Willpower is BS, y'all. Willpower will not get you there. Willpower does not help. It is a myth. It is dust in the wind. It is not a thing that you rely on. It is something that gets talked about a lot, but here's the thing. Your body has been working to keep you alive your entire life, and all of the generations of humans before you, and it didn't keep all those people alive by not eating whatever was in front of you. You are hardwired to seek out and eat calories. This impulse, it bypasses your rational thought thinking machine that says, I want to have a six-pack abs or whatever. Your primal instinctual self does not give a damn about your aesthetics, okay? So you have to plan ahead to make sure you don't get hungry. Hunger is the enemy of a good meal plan. Lack of planning is the enemy of a good meal plan. Too much stress is the enemy of a good meal plan. So what do you want to do? You want to make sure that we can lower the stress, that we can make things easy, make it simple. We want to make sure that we are never hungry, right? That we always have food available that is within the context of our goals. This is why I'm not a big fan of intermittent fasting. It works for a very small select portion of people. It's super convenient for that super small selection of people, and they're super loud about it because they're so excited about it. But for most of the population, that just ain't gonna work, because again, it requires you to lean on all this willpower to get through the pain, to push it. Like, I don't want you to, no, don't use willpower. 2021, no willpower. Throw it out the window. We don't need it, okay? We want to make sure that we're planning, that we're prepared ahead of time. And if meal prep means buying cans, fine. Why not, right? Why not? There's a lot of like food elitism that goes around healthy eating, right? Like, oh, I've got my all organic matcha powder with goji berry and Himalayan sea salt or whatever the hell. All these things are not actually going to help you with your weight loss journey. Now, if they make you feel good about yourself, they make you feel fancy, like, I am not gonna hold that against you. Like, if it adds joy to your life to have those things in your food or about your food, that's totally cool. But you don't need them for fat loss. If your goal is fat loss, muscle gain, and general health, you don't need these things. What you need is the right amount of protein, fat, carbohydrate, fiber, and your vitamins and minerals, your micronutrients. And you can get that all without a whole lot of pomp, fanfare, organic labels, all that stuff. You can get it very simply and very cheaply as well. You don't have to go out of your way to buy a lot of crazy stuff. So keep it simple and have a stupid simple layer of preparation beneath whatever other preparation you do. So maybe you do love all the fancy stuff, or maybe you just like, oh, I can cook a little bit, I'm gonna throw some rice in the pot and I'll cook some chicken ahead of time. It's cool. Go ahead and do that, but also have your cupboard stocked with stuff if like something goes wrong, right? Like something might happen, right? Just have that backup layer, and then you don't have to worry about it. Okay? So plan, prepare, have fun with it, and take it easy. Take some pressure off yourself. Okay? I'll look forward to seeing you on the next one. If you've got questions on anything I went over in today's live, you can go ahead and pop them down in the comments below. If you would like help with your exercise, nutrition, in a body positive, non-judgmental environment brought to you in your home online, go to www.thenerdgym.com and I will happily help you out with that. I'm Coach Melanie Black, your sports nutritionist, and until next time, keep that can-do attitude, my friends. See you next time. Bye.